Have you ever wondered why some breakups cut so deep that you're left asking yourself, what did I do wrong? The truth is, with a narcissist, a breakup is never just the end of a relationship, it's a calculated attack. In their world, a breakup is the final chance to seize control and leave a destructive imprint on your mind. They don't simply walk away quietly. They leave like a director staging a play, crafting manipulative scenes, from pushing you to initiate the breakup, disappearing without a trace, to sparking endless arguments. In this video, we'll uncover 10 toxic tactics narcissists use to end relationships. The first 3, manipulating you into leaving, sudden ghosting, and deliberately creating conflict, are their classic moves. The other 7, rarely discussed but equally ruthless, will be broken down in detail right after. If you've ever felt abandoned, smeared, or trapped in a spiral of self-blame, this video will help you recognize the signs early, protect yourself, and walk away with peace. Join me as we dive deep into the narcissist's psychology to see why their breakups always feel like a war, and most importantly, how you can win that war through the freedom of your own sovereignty. 1. Tactic 1. Manipulating you into initiating the breakup. When a narcissist decides it's time to leave a relationship, they rarely walk away like an ordinary person. They don't want the label of the one who abandoned. In their mind, being the one who leaves equals failure. It would mean admitting they were wrong, that they chose poorly. And for an ego that is fragile yet inflated, that is unacceptable. So they choose a different path, making you open the door, making you say the words, "It's over." It is a ruthless, silent, yet highly effective strategy, a psychological manipulation so subtle that many victims don't recognize it until they are already trapped in its spiral. At first, it's hard to pinpoint. One evening you notice they reply to messages more slowly. Their eyes no longer light up when you walk into the room. They're still present, but it feels like they're standing in another world, distant and cold. When you ask, they smile. "It's nothing, I'm just tired." This is the seed-planting stage of manipulation. They create just enough distance to make you uneasy, but not so obvious that you can name it. You start doubting yourself. Am I being too sensitive? Am I imagining this? Once they've sown confusion, they escalate to a sharper weapon: jealousy. Suddenly they mention their ex casually, as if in passing. Or worse, they coincidentally meet up with the ex, then tell you about it as if it were a funny story. Each name, each memory dropped into the conversation is like a thin blade cutting into the safety of your heart. You begin to compare yourself with a shadow from the past you've never met. You feel less beautiful, less interesting, less enough. The narcissist knows exactly what they're doing. They don't need to yell, accuse, or attack. A few seeds of doubt are enough. You will do the rest yourself. Self-criticism, self-blame, desperate attempts to prove you are worthy. And in this cruel play, they remain calm, observing like a director controlling their own script. Once you're destabilized, they widen the gap. Suddenly, they're busier. Dates are cancelled last minute. Conversations, once lasting hours, shrink into curt replies. But if you confront them, they soften. "You're overthinking. I'm still here." This is the infamous hot and cold dynamic, what psychologists call trauma bonding. The more afraid you are of losing them, the tighter you cling. Each small act of kindness from them feels like a lifeline to someone drowning. It is precisely this contrast, a rare drop of affection amidst long stretches of neglect, that makes it so hard to let go. Eventually, you can't take it anymore. You're exhausted from feeling abandoned while still technically in a relationship. You will be the one to say, "Maybe we should break up." And that is exactly what they've been waiting for. Immediately, they slip into the role of the victim. They'll tell friends and family, "I tried my best, but she divided by he left me." They rewrite the story so that you appear cold, selfish, ungrateful. All their faults vanish as if they never existed. You, who endured months of neglect and doubt, now carry the label of betrayer. It feels like freefall. You've lost the relationship and been robbed of the truth. To solidify their performance, they recruit flying monkeys, people already under their influence. They whisper twisted stories until you are painted as the villain. Suddenly, those who once stood by you begin to drift away. You hear vague rumors. I heard you treated them badly. This is a double blow. Not only is your love ripped away, but your support system is cut too. Isolation drives you deeper into self-doubt, making you wonder if you really were the problem. And that is their ultimate goal, to leave you both in pain and alone. For the victim, this isn't just a breakup, it's a psychological war you never knew you were drafted into. You don't just lose a partner, you lose trust in your own memory. Every happy moment now feels suspicious. Did they ever truly love me, or was it all an act? You may spend sleepless nights replaying conversations, analyzing looks, hunting for clues. The harsh truth is, there is no logical answer, because the whole process was designed to be beyond reason. On a deeper level, this manipulation reflects the narcissist's core paradox. They can never face themselves. They cannot bear the feeling of failure, so they make you the bad one to maintain their illusion of perfection. They flee from their own truth, while forcing you to face yours, that love cannot save a soul that refuses to look in the mirror. Your pain, though brutal, carries a seed of awakening. It forces you to see your worth that does not depend on compliments, texts, or glances from anyone. You learn that true love is not about clinging to someone determined to walk away. The first step of healing is recognition, naming the game you were dragged into. Once you understand it's a tactic, the guilt begins to dissolve. The next step is non-reaction. No explanations, no arguments, no attempts to fix their narrative. Every effort only fuels their play. Finally, return to yourself. Reconnect with the things that once nourished your soul. Music, nature, true friends, therapy. Each small step is a declaration. I do not define my worth by how someone treats me. The narcissist's first tactic, manipulating you into ending things, is proof of their cruelty. But it also reveals a deeper truth. Real power was never in their hands. It lies in your choice. When you walk away not just from the person, but from their game, you are no longer the victim, you are the survivor, and beyond that, the awakened one. After cornering you into saying the breakup words, many narcissists rest satisfied with their victory. But not all are patient enough to weave such a long, subtle play. For those who crave brutal, dramatic impact, they choose the next tactic, vanishing completely. If the first tactic forces you to close the door, the second makes them evaporate as if they never existed, leaving you in a whirlwind of confusion and pain. 2. Tactic 2. Disappearing completely. No warning, no goodbye text. One day you simply wake up and realize your messages are no longer marked, seen, your calls ring endlessly with no answer. Facebook, Instagram, every channel of contact suddenly turns into a gray wall. You've been blocked everywhere. The person who once lay beside you, who once held your hand on the street, now vanishes like an illusion. Ghosting is not just walking away, it's a weapon of silence, a punishment. For the narcissist, it's a double strike. Effortless for them, yet maximum pain for you. They know nothing haunts the mind more than an unanswered question. When you're denied closure, the brain wired to seek resolution spins endlessly, searching for reasons. You start replaying every moment. What did I say wrong? Was it something I did yesterday? Am I just not good enough? Each question slices into your self-worth. And that's exactly what they want for you, to torment yourself, to accuse yourself, while they don't even have to speak a word. Why do they choose this tactic? Because ghosting gives them total control. No explanations, no facing your emotions, no responsibility. They leave like victors, watching you carry all the weight alone. To them, it's proof of their power that they can make you collapse with nothing more than a block button. But ghosting also leaves a door open, the chance to return at any time. They know that when you've been suddenly abandoned, you'll crave an explanation, a message, a final word. And that longing makes it easier for you to welcome them back if they reappear, as if nothing ever happened. Weeks later, months later, even years later, they may send just one short text. Hey, how are you? 4 words, enough to awaken every memory you fought to bury. This is called hoovering, the act of sucking you back in. They're testing whether you're still a useful source of supply. If you reply, the cycle begins again. A few warm days, some tender words, then silence once more. Each return and disappearance cements their control, while you slowly lose faith in your own emotions. Unlike a normal breakup where you at least hear an explanation, where there's some ritual of closure, ghosting leaves an invisible wound. There is no answer, no ending. The pain becomes hard to name because it's not just the loss of love, but the loss of meaning itself. You may cycle through denial. Maybe they're just busy, maybe their phone is broken. Hope, they'll text tomorrow. Anger, depression, and eventually acceptance. But acceptance here is harder because you must create closure alone, with no feedback from the one who left. Philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre once said, "Hell is other people. Yet in ghosting, hell is the void they leave behind." Their absence is not just a physical lack. It becomes a haunting presence. They vanish, but they're everywhere, in the silence of your phone, in the empty chair, in the looping question inside your mind. The narcissist knows this paradox. They turn absence itself into a form of power, a power that keeps you unable to let go. To escape this game, the first step is recognition. Ghosting is emotional violence. It doesn't reflect your worth. It exposes their cowardice and cruelty. The lack of explanation is not because you were unworthy, it's because they lacked the courage to face the truth. Next, create your own ritual of closure. Write a letter, even if you never send it. Talk it out with a trusted friend or work with a therapist. This gives your mind the period at the end of the sentence. It needs to begin healing. Finally, set firm boundaries. If they return, you have the right to refuse. You owe them nothing, not a second chance, not a late explanation. Their silence already said everything. As painful as ghosting is, it carries a paradoxical gift: absolute freedom. No more arguments, no more hopeless negotiations. The moment you accept the truth that they left and their disappearance speaks louder than any goodbye, that is the moment you reclaim all your power. From the first tactic manipulating you into breaking up to the second, disappearing without a trace, narcissists share the same goal: to leave while keeping full control. Whether through subtle games or cruel vanishing acts, what they fear most is facing the truth and taking responsibility. Once you see this clearly, you realize you are the one who decides how your story ends. And after vanishing like they never existed, or after repeating the cycle of leaving and returning, the narcissist may choose a different road to end things. This time, they don't disappear quietly. Instead, they face you directly, but in the most exhausting way possible. That is when they unveil the third tactic, deliberately igniting endless arguments, pulling you into a chaotic dance you don't realize you're already part of. 3. Tactic 3. Deliberately picking fights. When this stage begins, the air in your home, in your conversations, even in your text messages feels heavy and suffocating. Anything you say, no matter how harmless, can spark a fire. A simple question like, "How was work today?" might be met with a glare of irritation or a cutting remark. They nitpick the smallest details. A dish left unstacked, a text you forgot to reply to, some trivial point in an old story. Each minor flaw is magnified as proof that you are uncaring, disrespectful, or even the problem. You begin to watch every word, every movement, trying to avoid conflict, but the more you avoid, the deeper you fall. That tension is exactly what they want, because it gives them a sense of total control. Arguments stretch late into the night, ending in icy silence, only to ignite again in fresh waves of anger. Their words cut like knives, forcing you into constant defense, convincing you that you are the cause of every crack in the relationship. If you cry, they sneer. If you get angry, they escalate, recording your reactions as evidence that you're unstable. It's a calculated strategy. They don't need to leave as the betrayer. They just have to create a story where you look like the unhinged one, while they appear as someone who endured too much for too long. Hopefully, during this process, your mind erodes bit by bit. Every argument is a spiral that makes you doubt yourself. You wonder, am I really that selfish, difficult, volatile? Your sense of right and wrong begins to blur, because every attempt to explain is twisted against you. Worse still, they retell these arguments to outsiders, with their own spin casting you as the hot-tempered, irrational partner, while they pose as the patient spouse who tried but couldn't cope. It's a double performance. Inside the house, they fuel chaos. Outside, they wear the mask of calm martyrdom. The victim's pain isn't only in the harsh words, it's in being pushed to the emotional brink. You may start believing the breakup is entirely your fault, that you failed to protect the love you had. At night, when the shouting finally quiets, you lie awake, replaying everything, regretting the yelling, the tears, the moments you lost composure. Yet the truth is, every outburst of yours was provoked, calculated, and set up by them. This is one of the dirtiest tactics, because it turns the victim into the perfect excuse for their departure. When you're drained and finally say, I can't take this anymore, they can walk away calmly, telling everyone they tried, but you were too difficult to live with. They already have their story. You're angry, moody, ungrateful, and if you really did explode, their version only sounds more convincing. After dragging you through relentless fights, once your emotions and energy are spent, the narcissist moves into the next phase of their calculated exit. They've exhausted you, painted you as temperamental and impossible. But that alone doesn't satisfy their power-hungry ego. Now, they want to expand the battlefield, to weaponize the private story publicly. And that is when Tactic 4 begins. 4. Tactic 4. Attacking your reputation, turning private stories into public weapons. If in the first 3 tactics you still had a little private space to breathe, this is the stage where the narcissist drags the outside world into the war. They don't just want to leave, they want to ensure that when they walk away, your image is so distorted it can hardly recover. This is no longer a breakup, it's a smear campaign. It often starts with small, seemingly harmless complaints. To co-workers they sigh, I've tried everything, but lately she's been so unstable. To your relatives they drop vague hints, I just hope he gets back on his feet soon. At first, people mistake these comments for concern, but piece by piece, they build a portrait of you as unpredictable, selfish, or unbalanced. They may share your story with mutual friends, tweaking a few details, just enough to turn truth into half-truth. They weaponize the private things you once confided in trust. A story about you crying from work stress becomes proof you're always out of control. A confession about financial struggles is twisted into, she was always using me. The chilling part is how calmly they deliver it, with a sympathetic face and a sorrowful tone, as if they are the kind, innocent victim just seeking understanding. That composure makes it hard for others to doubt them. People who once supported you, friends, colleagues, even family, start to waver. Some distance themselves, not because they fully believe the lies, but because they fear being dragged into drama. Isolation sets in slowly, but surely. The narcissist's reputation attack doesn't stop with whispers. They may drop cryptic posts online, vague quotes about betrayal, smiling photos with someone new, captions dripping with venom. All carefully crafted so you see them, but cannot respond. If you speak up, they shrug. I never said it was about you. Your reaction only seems to validate their narrative. For the victim, the pain goes far beyond losing a partner. You now watch as other relationships, friendships, bonds of trust built over years bend and break under lies. It feels like standing in a hall of distorted mirrors, where your reflection appears in hundreds of twisted forms, none of them real. Every attempt to explain pulls you deeper into their web. Outsiders may see you as defensive, even guilty. On a deeper level, this strikes at a basic human need, the need to belong. By isolating you, they don't just cut off emotional support, they shake your very sense of worth. You begin to wonder, am I really as difficult as they say? Did I push people away? The moment you doubt yourself, They've already won half the battle. But look closely, and you'll see beneath the cruelty lies fear. The narcissist knows their own reputation is fragile as glass. They must paint you as guilty to cover their own truth. They need others to believe they left because they had no other choice, a theater act to protect an ego terrified of exposure. As an Eastern proverb says, the louder someone shouts, the more they fear the truth inside. Their gossip is just noise to drown out the voice of their conscience. When facing this tactic, fighting rumor with endless corrections only drains you and feeds their drama. True strength lies in holding your boundaries, nurturing healthy relationships, and allowing truth to stand on its own. Lies require constant feeding. Truth stands firm without defense. As you focus on healing and living fully, the gap between their fabricated story and your real self will expose itself. The fourth tactic, attacking reputation, is proof that for a narcissist, a breakup isn't an end, but a prolonged war beyond the relationship's walls. They want to leave, but also to carve a lasting wound into your life. Understanding this not only helps you protect yourself, but also reminds you your worth does not live in their stories, but in the peace and steadiness you choose each day. And once they've spread rumors and bent your image before others, they rarely stop. They know reputation is just one battlefield. To truly break you, they must strike deeper at your material security and daily sense of stability. That is when they unleash the next tactic, a blow both practical and merciless. 5. Tactic 5. Weaponizing finances when money becomes chains. Not every narcissist is wealthy, but nearly all understand the power of money. At this stage, they turn what was once called sharing into a tool of control. If you ever lived together, shared accounts, or had joint assets, this becomes fertile ground for manipulation. They know you need stability to recover after emotional storms, so they strike directly at your material foundation. It often begins with subtle shifts, changing the password to bank accounts, delaying their share of joint expenses, quietly draining the savings you built together. When you ask, they reply casually, "I'm just reorganizing things to make it easier." Each time, a piece of your safety net crumbles. If you've ever received financial support from them, even a small contribution toward rent or bills, they will weaponize it. One day you hear the cold words, "From now on you handle everything yourself. I'm no longer responsible." Not because they can't afford it, but because they want you to feel the weight of dependency. They want every meal, every bill, every necessity to remind you of their shadow. For those who are married or share significant assets, the narcissist becomes even more cunning. They demand control of documents, stall property division, or exploit legal loopholes to drag the process out. Courts, lawyers, contracts, all become their weapons. The goal isn't just money, but time and emotional exhaustion. By forcing you into endless paperwork and hearings, they drain your energy to heal and move forward. They may even reclaim gifts once given. Cars, electronics, even small items full of memories. They know each possession is not just material, but symbolic. Taking them back erases traces of the relationship and inflicts a double loss of both the present and the past. The deepest wound, however, lies beneath the numbers. What they truly seek is to instill in you a sense of helplessness, a hidden fear that you cannot survive without them. This creates dangerous psychological dependency. You begin calculating every expense, dreading each bank email, even enduring toxic conversations just to keep the peace and secure their contribution. They've turned your basic need for survival into invisible chains. From a philosophical lens, this is when their hunger for power reveals itself most nakedly. They believe that by controlling life's daily essentials, money, housing, security, they can define your worth. But here lies the paradox. Their power exists only if you agree to their definition. The moment you see money as a tool rather than a measure of value, the chains begin to crack. Escaping this tactic requires more than willpower. It requires planning and practical support. That may mean opening your own account, seeking legal advice, leaning on trusted friends or family, or contacting organizations that offer financial aid to survivors of psychological abuse. Each step, no matter how small, is a declaration. My life is not in your hands. And when financial warfare isn't enough to break you, the narcissist often shifts to a subtler, harder to detect form of abuse. After exhausting battles over money, they know you long for peace. That's when they exploit your craving for calm to deliver the next blow, not peace, but silence turned into a weapon. 6. Tactic 6. Weaponizing silence when quiet becomes hell. At this stage, they don't need shouting or threats. They simply stop talking, stop looking, stop acknowledging your existence. But make no mistake, this is not peaceful reflection. It's punishment in disguise. They know that indifference can wound more deeply than cruelty. It begins simply. One morning, you greet them, only to receive a cold nod. At night, your questions are answered with sighs or shrugs. Calls go unanswered. Texts ignored. You feel like you're speaking to a wall. That emptiness gnaws at you. You start searching your memory for mistakes, asking yourself what you did wrong. That's their aim, to make you doubt yourself, to punish yourself. You double your efforts to win back attention, doing more chores, sending sweet messages, trying to make peace. Each attempt only strengthens their power, because their silence has become invisible chains, pulling you into endless pursuit. The narcissist knows silence is more than absence of words. It creates an environment where every sound echoes isolation. In the home, your own footsteps seem loud. Dinner is nothing but the clink of cutlery. Even outside, the void follows like a gray cloud hovering over your head. In a meeting or a crowded cafe, you still hear the heavy silence in your mind. This is psychological abuse in its cleanest form. No bruises, no visible proof, but devastating impact. Psychologists call it emotional abandonment. It strikes at a core human need, to be seen, to be acknowledged. When denied that recognition, you begin to lose your sense of existence. Even worse, the silence is often broken by sudden, fleeting warmth, a gentle question, a touch, a smile, just enough to spark hope, to make you believe things are improving. Then, as if in a cruel joke, they withdraw again. This cycle creates a toxic addiction, binding you tighter like a moth chasing light in the dark. If you confront them, they flip the script. I didn't do anything. You're overreacting. By denying, they paint you as overly sensitive, making it hard for outsiders to believe you're being abused. This is advanced manipulation. They hurt you without leaving proof, only emptiness and self-blame. Spiritually, this stage leaves deep scars. You may lose sleep, sink into anxiety, even depression. You feel invisible, worthless. Survivors often describe it as asterisk dying slowly while still alive. Asterisk a death with no cry, only endless void. From a philosophical view, their silence is an existential paradox. You are tormented by what does not exist. Yet here lies the seed of freedom. Once you recognize silence as a tactic to bind you, you can choose a new response. Stop seeking recognition from one who refuses to give it. The moment you stop waiting for their voice, their silence loses its grip. Escaping this trap means filling your life with your own sound. Surround yourself with people who truly see you, with activities that nourish your spirit: reading, journaling, real conversations, therapy. Every word you speak for yourself is a piece bringing you back into the world of the living. 7. Tactic 7. The false awakening. When the narcissist pretends to repent to keep control, suddenly the one who turned cold and stone silent starts talking about change, rebirth, and finding themselves. They might invite you to a meditation course, share inspirational quotes, or post photos with captions like, "Each day is a new chance to love and grow." To outsiders, they radiate calm and depth, as if they've truly begun a healing journey. But to you, the one who's borne the invisible cuts, this shift makes your heart both hopeful and uneasy. In conversations, they admit, "I was wrong," in vague terms, but never specify what they did. They may cry, hold your hand, and say, "I realize I neglected you, but now I'm finding my true self." It's the kind of line that melts you, because after everything you've endured, a part of you still longs for repair. You want to believe this is hope at last, that your love and patience finally moved them. Look closely, though, and you'll see the cracks. This change often comes with hidden conditions. They want you to witness their new journey while subtly binding you to a spectator's seat. I need you by my side to help me maintain this healthy lifestyle. They may ask you to disregard old wounds with, "Let's focus on the future, not rehash the past." In effect, your pain goes unacknowledged. Old injuries are painted over with a glossy coat of spirituality and growth. Many narcissists co-opt religion, meditation, or self-help movements as props. They post church photos, volunteer snapshots, and tales of soul awakenings, yet the ego remains intact. Their public life lessons serve to harvest admiration and convince you and everyone else that they've changed. In truth, it's a way to whitewash the past and silence accusations. Once they look enlightened, your accounts of prior abuse can be dismissed as exaggerations or misunderstandings. The victim's pain at this stage is exquisitely subtle. You're not tormented by fights or icy silence now, but by the conflict inside your own heart. One part wants to believe in transformation, to seize a chance at reconciliation. Another whispers warnings that this is just a new act. The ambivalence wears you down, because any choice brings guilt, leave. And you fear missing a real chance, stay, and you fear being hurt again. This is manipulation at its peak. Control not through cruelty, but through hope, the most delicate yet powerful force in the human heart. They know hope can tether you longer than any visible chain. As long as you stay, they remain the center of the story. To spot false awakening, watch actions, not words. Someone genuinely changing won't demand you forget your pain, nor ask you to prove love by continuing to endure. They listen, take responsibility, and give you time. The narcissist does the opposite. They rush to showcase their evolution like a medal, demanding instant recognition from you and the world. This is also when you must return to your own intuition. What happened does not vanish because of a few aphorisms or meditation pics. Your pain is real. Your memories are real. Only when you permit yourself to trust the truth does their performance lose power. Remember, no one self-declares enlightenment and then coerces forgiveness. That's just another mask of control. When the glow of their spiritual rebirth starts to fade and you grow cautious, they switch roles again. No longer the awakened sage or the pitiable victim, they step back on stage with a familiar, dramatic game, public provocation to test your loyalty. Here's the moment they try to prove that even after every phase, they still command your weak spots, fear of loss, and the need to feel valued. 8. Tactic 8. Public tests: flirting, sexualized teasing, and provocation in plain sight. This tactic doesn't hide in the shadows. It flaunts itself under bright lights. The narcissist knows you're exhausted by the mind games, but they also know something else. Your heart still carries cracks of jealousy and the desire for affirmation. So they strike directly at your self-respect with public provocation. It often begins with seemingly harmless signs, ambiguous messages with a coworker, accidental photos with another person, sly jokes at a party. When you frown, they smile as if you're paranoid. "We're just friends. Don't overthink it." But you can feel the way their gaze lingers on newcomers, the way their hand rests a beat too long on someone's shoulder, their eyes saying, "See, I'm still desired." This isn't casual flirting. It's a choreographed performance. They want you to see it and want an audience to see it too, creating a tense triangle. Them, the new person, and you, the unwilling spectator. What they seek isn't only attention from others, but your reaction. They want your confusion, worry, anger. They want to prove that after fights, silence, even awakening, they can still steer your emotions. You start wondering, am I being controlling? Am I jealous for no reason? That's the point. Narcissists excel at turning your legitimate reaction into proof of your weakness. They'll casually say in front of friends, "She's always jealous. I haven't done anything wrong." Suddenly you're cast as the possessive one while they play the innocent charmer. The cruelty here is that it triggers primal fears of abandonment, of being unattractive, of comparison. You begin tracking tiny details: the shirt they chose today, a midnight text they sent, a too bright smile for a stranger. Each observation pricks your self-esteem, making you feel small and disposable. Sometimes they push blatant boundaries, standing too close, touching, praising someone's looks in front of you, even openly texting an ex. Confront them and they flip the script. "I'm just being social, why the overreaction? You're suffocating me." With each line, they turn your hurt into a joke and force you into defending your sanity. To outsiders, it's harmless flirting. To you, after everything, it's a direct blow to the tenderest part of your soul. You feel anger and shame at once. You want to leave and yet fear losing them. That inner contradiction becomes the tightest leash. At a deeper level, this tactic exposes the narcissist's emptiness. They must constantly be seen as desired because their existence depends on others' admiring gaze. Each provocation is not only to hurt you, but to stuff the void within a void they refuse to face. Countering the public test means returning to your core values. Explosive reactions only feed them. Quiet self-containment can protect you, but the deeper work is reminding yourself you don't have to compete with anyone to prove worth. Real love never turns itself into a stage, and someone who truly loves you doesn't need an audience to feel valuable. When these spectacles stop working, when you no longer grow jealous or react on cue, the narcissist changes tactics again. If they can't keep you with flirting or theatrics, they'll find another way to stay centered on stage. They will recast themselves as the ultimate victim. This pivot is familiar and extremely dangerous because it targets your empathy and the sympathy of everyone watching. 9. Tactic 9. Role reversal. When the narcissist crowns themselves the victim. Suddenly, the person who was once proud, arrogant, and domineering becomes unbelievably fragile. They begin telling stories of a difficult childhood and unhealed wounds you've never heard of. They may show up around mutual friends looking exhausted, eyes red, voice trembling. "I tried my best, but they were so cold to me." Each line pricks your heart because even after everything, you're still compassionate. In private, the performance is even more refined. They can cry and monologue for hours about how no one understands me, how the world is too cruel. They may even fall ill headaches, insomnia, anxiety, and imply that you are the cause. If you cared more, I wouldn't be suffering like this. There's no direct accusation, only laments that flood you with guilt. This tactic is dangerous because it exploits your goodness. After jealousy traps, constant arguments, and punitive silence, you're now placed before a wounded child begging to be soothed. Your empathy rises. Maybe they really are in pain. Maybe I should give them another chance. And just like that, you who resolve to leave step back in as comforter and protector. They don't stop with you. They expand the drama to the community around you. They tell a warped story to friends, co-workers, and both families. "I've been emotionally abused. I've endured too much." Those who don't know the truth are swept along, pitying them and eyeing you with suspicion. You slowly become the villain in your own life, cold, cruel, ungrateful. If you explain, your defense is framed as proof you're manipulative or controlling. This reversal traps you in a double bind. If you stay quiet, their words become accepted truth. If you speak up, you're seen as attacking a helpless victim. Every move you make fits the script they prepared. The more you try to prove innocence, the more chances they get to play the injured party. It's a highly sophisticated form of psychological abuse. No shouting, no blows, just half-truths and acting skill. It exploits a deep human belief that people are basically good and that suffering deserves help. The narcissist uses that belief to pull you back into their orbit, or at least to exit as the one who was wronged. Look closely and you'll see the gaps. Someone truly hurt seeks healing. They don't smear you to others. Someone who genuinely needs love doesn't fabricate narratives to recruit allies. The narcissist is simply laundering responsibility, turning the wounds they inflicted on you into evidence of their own tragedy. To protect yourself, keep firm emotional boundaries. Allow yourself to recognize that compassion does not mean staying. You can empathize with their past pain and still say no to being manipulated. Most importantly, don't try to win the war of words. Truth doesn't need you to shout. Time and consistent actions will reveal it. After the tears, laments, and self-appointment as the victim have harvested sympathy from you and the onlookers, the narcissist often moves into the finale. Here, they don't bother with subtlety. All prior masks, loving partner, enlightened sage, pitiable sufferer, have served one aim: to exhaust you and disorient you. Once they sense you have nothing left to give, or that you fully see the game, they deploy the last nakedly cruel strike. 10. Tactic 10. Ultimate provocation, pushing you to the edge to leave in fake glory. Victims often describe this as the final storm. The narcissist drops the pretense: no more excuses, no pleading looks. They want to leave on top and brand you with the deepest mark. So they provoke until you lose control, then announce to everyone, "I left because that person is toxic." End quote. They begin with relentless psychological blows, mocking weaknesses only the two of you know, turning secrets you shared in trust into jokes, and jabbing at your deepest fears. They may rewrite old memories and warp every story, leaving you both enraged and despairing. The aim is to make you explode, shout, sob, even break things so they can tell the world, "See, I put up with this for too long." If you stay calm, they turn up the heat. They might flaunt a new partner in front of you, openly display betrayal to ignite jealousy. They might accidentally reveal humiliating details about you at a crowded party. They'll call or text late at night with baiting lines, a psychological trap. The goal is singular: strip you of your dignity right before they leave. Your pain here feels like standing at a cliff's edge. You've endured every manipulation: fighting, silence, smearing, for awakening, victim cosplay. Now you're both exhausted and furious. You want to scream the truth, to hit back. That's the moment they've engineered. If you react, they catalog every word and gesture as evidence of your guilt. This final move lets them end the story entirely on their terms. They depart as the brave one who escaped a toxic relationship, while you're left amid the wreckage, confusion, anger, and hurt. To outsiders, they become righteous. To you, they leave a suffocating void of unanswered questions. But beneath that cruelty lies a truth. Their final act is not strength, it's fear. They fear the emptiness awaiting them without someone to control. They fear you walking away in calm, because your calm is the loudest proof of their failure. The only way to break this tactic is to refuse the final battle. Choose active silence, not the imposed silence of Tactic 6, but your own conscious decision. Not reacting isn't weakness. It's how you retake authorship of your story. When you decline the role they wrote for you, their script collapses. Tactic 10, Ultimate Provocation, is the end game of the entire manipulation chain. It exposes the narcissist's core: a hunger for power, terror of emptiness, and a need for a dramatic ending to prop up their self-myth. Yet it also offers your clearest path to freedom. When you step out of the game, guard your peace and refuse to react. The victory no longer belongs to them, it belongs to you, quiet, steady, and untouchable. After the 10 tactics, a map back to yourself. After enduring all 10 of a narcissist's ruthless tactics, what you need most isn't an apology, because it will likely never come, but a map to find yourself again. Your wounds are not just emotional cuts, they are invisible cords binding your mind. Counter, strategies, and healing don't happen overnight. This is a journey, one that calls for resolve, knowledge, and a gentle care for yourself. What follows is a comprehensive plan, blending psychological insight, practical steps, and philosophical depth to help you rise after the narcissist's power game. It's a way to reclaim your narrative, restore your nervous system, and rebuild a life where your worth is non-negotiable and your peace is protected. 11. Recognizing the truth clearly. The first and hardest step in healing is daring to name your story. After leaving a toxic relationship, many people remain haunted by endless looping questions. Maybe I was too sensitive. Maybe they didn't mean it. Maybe I was the one who made things worse. These thoughts don't arise because you're weak, but because of prolonged psychological manipulation, what psychologists call gaslighting. During the relationship, the narcissist constantly twisted reality, planting the belief that your feelings were wrong, that your memories were unreliable. By making you doubt yourself, they made it easier to control you. And so, even after you've left, the echo lingers, blurring the line between real and imagined. To break free from this cycle, you must grant yourself one firm declaration. It happened. It was emotional abuse. And it was not my fault. This sentence, simple as it seems, is a milestone of autonomy. It restores the voice and dignity that was stolen from you. Don't hesitate to repeat it often. Write it down, tape it to your mirror, record it in your journal, whatever helps you embed this truth. Spend time writing down your memories, without worrying about order or structure. Let the recollections flow, even the smallest fragments. Write to unburden yourself, to place details onto the page instead of letting them swirl endlessly in your head. Later, reread and underline recurring behaviors, subtle control, emotional violence, reputation smearing, silence used as punishment. Seen in black and white, you'll notice the repeated pattern, undeniable evidence that it was abuse, not little misunderstandings as you were once convinced. This process may make you tremble. Painful memories may surge back, but laying the truth bare is what finally releases you from the endless inner argument. You no longer need to wonder, did I imagine it? Or were they really that bad? The truth now stands clear and unshakable. And once that foundation is set, the next steps, building boundaries, healing psychologically, and redefining your life, can stand firm. This is the first doorway back to yourself, where you stop living in someone else's shadow and begin living in the light of truth. 12. Setting boundaries and keeping them. One of the hardest earned lessons after leaving a narcissist is realizing that boundaries are not optional, they are essential for survival. During the relationship, your boundaries were constantly violated, your time was taken, your thoughts scrutinized, your decisions dismissed. To them, your limits were like tissue paper, easily torn. Boundaries meant they couldn't have absolute control. That's why even after the relationship ends, they often try to slip back in, test you, or pull you into orbit again. The phenomenon known as hoovering like a vacuum, sweeping the floor, is the clearest proof. After a period of silence, they suddenly send a message that seems harmless. I miss you. Just checking if you're okay. Or even a single emoji. Sometimes they don't contact you directly, but show up by chance at your favorite cafe or ask mutual friends about you. These aren't signs of genuine care. They are hooks, testing whether you're still easy to reel back in. If you respond even with a polite hello, they sense the crack and immediately restart their game of control. This is why the no-contact rule is nearly absolute. Block their number, email, social media. Don't worry that it feels too extreme. It's protection against the cycle of psychological abuse. If children or shared property force some contact, use low contact. Communicate only essential information through a lawyer, mediator, or business email. Never share personal details. Another often overlooked but vital step is identifying the weak spots they exploited. Narcissists know exactly who you care about, what you need, what you fear losing. Make a list. Family, close friends, work, finances, hobbies. For each, set safeguards. Change all passwords, separate bank accounts, warn loved ones not to share information, even disable location sharing for a time. Each measure is a brick in the wall of safety around your life. But real boundaries start on the inside. They are the commitments you make to yourself. I no longer allow them to define my worth. I don't need their validation to feel good. I don't need their permission to be happy. Once you believe this, their messages and rumors lose their weight. Setting boundaries is not a one-time act, it's a steady practice. Some days you'll feel weak, tempted to respond or explain. Prepare for those moments by reminding yourself reacting only fuels their game. Instead, nourish healthy friendships, seek therapy, and build habits that strengthen you. Each time you hold a boundary, you reaffirm ownership of your life, and step by step, true freedom becomes your reality. 13. Psychological healing, nurturing the self again. After recognizing the truth and establishing boundaries, the next step is soul recovery. This is not a luxury or something to postpone. It is the foundation for regaining peace and a sense of self-worth. Many survivors, even after leaving a toxic relationship, carry deep scars. Depression, anxiety, insomnia, intrusive memories, even post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. The narcissist didn't just hurt you in the moment. They reshaped the way you see the world and yourself. Healing, therefore, is a long journey requiring both patience and courage. The first step is admitting you need help. No one can walk the entire recovery road alone, especially when memories have been distorted and emotions suppressed for so long. Seek professional therapy, a counselor or trauma-informed therapist who understands trauma bonding and psychological abuse. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, helps identify negative thought patterns and replace them with healthier beliefs. EMDR, or somatic experiencing, can process traumatic memories and reduce anxiety triggers tied to the past. Alongside therapy, support communities serve as lifelines. Sharing and listening to stories from others who've lived through the same battles reminds you that you're not alone, and offers practical coping strategies only fellow survivors truly understand. Whether online groups or in-person meetings, the experience of being heard and trusted gradually mends inner fractures. Don't forget the body. Mind and body are more intertwined than you think. Gentle, regular exercise, walking, yoga, swimming releases endorphins, reduces anxiety, and improves sleep. Create daily rituals. A warm cup of tea in the morning, a few deep breaths before bed, or quiet time in nature. These small acts signal to your brain that you are safe. Over time, your body will exit high alert mode. Another essential part of healing is giving voice back to your emotions. In your old relationship, you may have been forced into silence, suppressing anger and sadness. Now, allow yourself to cry, write, paint, sing, or talk with a trusted friend. Each time you name a feeling, you release energy that was once trapped. Finally, nurture compassion for yourself. There will be days when you feel weak, miss the past, or question your decisions. Do not blame yourself. Remind yourself, I am learning how to love myself again. This gentleness not only helps you survive the pain, but rebuilds the foundation for a new life, one where you are free to be you, no longer defined by another. Healing is not about becoming who you once were, but about becoming a deeper, freer version of yourself. Each small step is proof that you are reclaiming your life, breath by breath. 14. Restoring financial autonomy, reclaiming your life through your own money. After naming the truth, setting strong boundaries, and caring for your inner world, you'll soon face another towering wall: money. For many survivors, this is the final chain the narcissist tries to hold, because they know financial freedom equals true freedom. Only when you reclaim control over your resources do their manipulations truly lose power. In the old relationship, money may have been weaponized. They may have controlled all spending, forced you to ask permission for small expenses, or subtly made you dependent on their income to feed a sense of gratitude. Even after separation, they might still use money as a tether, paying a bill unexpectedly, transferring help into your account, or offering child support in exchange for contact. Every dollar comes with an invisible string, keeping you half free, half bound. The first step is clarity with yourself. Sit down and list everything: Assets, income, debts, fixed expenses. Don't avoid it, even if the numbers scare you. Only when you see the full picture can you plan your exit. Separate your accounts from theirs as soon as possible. Change all banking, credit card, and digital wallet passwords. Close or restructure joint accounts with dual signatures, and seek legal advice right away. Next, build your own emergency fund. Even a small start is a cornerstone of independence. Aim for 3 to 6 months of living expenses. Each deposit, no matter how small, is a seed of hope for your independent future. If current income isn't enough, look for side opportunities, freelancing, selling unused items, or learning a quick earning skill. The key isn't immediate wealth, but forming the habit that asserts your autonomy. Get legal support when needed. If there are shared assets, prenuptial agreements, or custody obligations, don't try to negotiate alone. Narcissists exploit loopholes to drag disputes out, draining your energy. Lawyers or advocacy organizations can help you stand firm, keeping emotions out of financial division. Alongside practical steps, watch for the psychology of financial independence. After long control, many survivors unconsciously feel guilty spending on themselves or fearful making money decisions. Practice with small acts. Decide on a personal purchase without guilt. Create a monthly budget. Reward yourself when you meet financial goals. Each decision declares, I deserve this freedom. Don't forget trustworthy allies. A supportive friend, a financial advisor, or a survivor group can provide both guidance and encouragement. You don't have to fight alone, and sharing your financial journey with someone reliable is itself a safeguard. Restoring financial autonomy is not just about reclaiming money. It is reclaiming the right to live your life. When you stand before your own account, pay your own bills, and plan your own future, you send a powerful message: my existence depends on no one. I am free. And in that moment, the narcissist's games, no matter how cunning, become meaningless. 15. Rebuilding your social network, reviving connection and the power of community. After reclaiming financial independence, the next step in recovery is repairing the threads that connect you to the world around you. Because during life with a narcissist, you almost certainly endured some form of isolation. They may not have forbidden you outright, but through subtle put-downs, feigned jealousy, or staged dramas that constantly required your attention, they cleverly pushed you away from friends, co-workers, and even family. Losing that social network didn't just leave you lonely, it made you dependent on them for validation and belonging. To rebuild these connections, you must first face the fear of judgment. Many survivors hesitate to reach out to old friends, worried they'll be asked, "Where have you been?" or "Why didn't you say anything while it was happening?" Remember, your silence was never your fault. It was the result of manipulation and smear campaigns. You don't need to justify yourself or recount the painful details. A simple, honest message such as, "I went through a difficult time and would love to reconnect," is enough to open the door. True friends will understand often more gently than you expect. Alongside mending old ties, open yourself to new ones. Take a class you once loved but put aside, sign up for a sport, or join volunteer groups, book clubs, hiking circles. These aren't just chances to meet people, they are declarations that my life no longer revolves around the past. By entering spaces untouched by your old story, you give yourself the chance to be seen anew, not as a victim, but as an independent, passionate, resilient person. Be intentional about building safe relationships. After prolonged control, you need to relearn how to distinguish ordinary friendliness from manipulation. Observe, does this relationship respect boundaries? Is there balance in sharing and listening? Does the other person celebrate your individuality and personal life? These seemingly simple questions help restore your inner compass, the one distorted by gaslighting. Reconnecting with community also creates a natural shield. When you're surrounded by people who respect and uplift you, the narcissist finds it far harder to hoover you back in. They rely on your isolation to return. A strong social network is a fortress that renders their late-night calls or vague texts meaningless. Finally, see this process not just as rebuilding relationships, but as rebuilding trust in humanity. After betrayal, you may doubt everyone, even your own kindness. But each coffee with an old friend, each laugh in a new group, each neighbor's friendly nod becomes a piece of evidence affirming, warmth still exists in this world, and I am worthy of it. And rebuilding your social network, then, is more than easing loneliness. It is your declaration that you have returned to the world ready to love, ready to be loved, and most importantly, no longer defined by the past with a narcissist. The journey you've just walked through is not only about breaking free from a toxic relationship, it is the rebirth of your very soul. From the moment you first dared to name the truth, to each step of setting boundaries, healing your mind, reclaiming your finances, and rebuilding your community, every action has been a milestone of courage and proof of the inherent worth the narcissist once tried to suffocate. You've learned to face the past without trembling. You now understand that true love does not demand endurance, does not turn silence into punishment, and does not use money or guilt as chains. You have moved from the fear of abandonment to the freedom of your own spirit, from being someone controlled to being the one who decides your destiny. That is the deepest victory, a victory that needs no audience, no validation from the one who hurt you. From this point on, your life no longer revolves around the question, what will they do next? But instead, how do I want to live? You may choose to travel, start a new project, learn a skill you once left behind, or simply savor a quiet morning without the dread of a sudden text. Every decision, no matter how small, is a declaration of freedom. And if you're reading this with a heart that still feels heavy, believe me, you are not alone. Out there is a whole community of people who have stood where you now stand. People ready to listen, to share, and to walk beside you. Your strength is not found in forgetting everything, but in the fact that you still choose to love, still choose to trust in life, even after betrayal. Allow yourself to smile, to take a deep breath, and to whisper, I have survived. I am free. I am beginning a new chapter. This is the ending of the old story and the beginning of a life made whole again. A life authored by you, no longer shadowed by the narcissist, but illuminated by your own light.